Welcome to Arlington Community Church, United Church of Christ. As a church, we seek to be a spiritual center that welcomes all people. So please know that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are most welcome here. I'm Reverend Jen Chapman, the pastor here at ACC, and it is my honor to welcome you here today and to lead us in celebrating the life of Cathie Kosel. Cathie's family, and especially her son Andrew, are glad you are here today to be a part of this celebration. Thank you for being here. There are a few family members and friends who have been asked to speak today, and we hope that you'll join us after the service in Social Hall, where all are encouraged to share stories and memories of Cathie as an extension of our celebration. Now, did any of you happen to bring a singing bowl with you today? Many of us have been recipients of Cathie's singing bowl collection, a special part of her life, her spiritual journey, and something that brought her great joy. So today, as we begin, we're going to let the bowls sing a song of peace, healing, and joy as we share a meditative moment in sound. I'll begin with this large, beautiful bowl that Cathie gifted to the church. And if you have a bowl, you can play yours at any time. The tones of the different bowls will layer. We'll let Cathie's spirit lead us as we play. And when we're finished playing, we'll share a moment of silence. I invite you to stand and sing together, Amazing Grace. Standing, and please join us in a reading of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Amen. You may be seated.
Kath dared to dream, and I never heard her say can't. So, Kath, I know you're here. This one's for you. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. When all the clouds are a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble to the ground, heaven opens a magic lane And when the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leaving from your window pane to a place beyond the sun, just a step behind the rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, why can't I? Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't
Thank you, everybody, for being here, for my mother and I. The picture on the cover is actually on Mother's Day, doing what my mom loved the best, and that's look at flowers and pick out too many and plant them. Oh, excuse me. Better, Peg? Yeah. Okay, good. So, being raised by a single mother and being an only child, is difficult, but all the people in this room were a part of our lives and enriched them. So I've always said my friends are my family. And I think that is really true for my life. And my mother always said, be brief, be bright, and be seated. So I have one short story for you. It was a month and a half ago, and I was looking through my phone, because I switched phone carriers to look at all the voicemails that I didn't want to get erased. And so I went through a whole year's worth. And I don't know, there were 100 or so from my mother, and most of them literally were Petey, and she called me Petey because I didn't like to be called Sweetie in elementary school. Petey, it's your mama, give me a call, I love you. And literally there's 60 of those messages in the last year. But with this bright, jovial, loving voice. And I was on an airplane, and I just started bawling, crying. It was, I was just like, wow, what a great memory to have. So then I had to go through and save every single one, and and my favorite one was Petey, I didn't win the lotto. Give me a call tonight. We should have dinner anyways. I was like, okay, am I paying then tonight? Probably not, but so I really appreciate all of you, and I love all of you. It's amazing. I mean, this has been a lot of fun to stand out there and look out in this audience and see my family, my friends, and all of her friends. I mean, thank you all for this. This really, really brings me peace. That's all I've got for you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Toby Atawo, friend of Andrew's, good friend of Andrew's. Meeting Andrew, you automatically meet Cathie. And, yesterday, just talking about life and her, I just realized that how much of a deeply layered person she was. Just sitting here with the singing bowls, flowers, the pictures, you hear how many adventures she's had in life, and really it's a reflection point for me, and it's a way to put things in perspective and appreciate her, because in so many ways she taught me and taught all of us. Like I said, she was very layered, but in all of her layers, you saw the passion, you heard her laughter, you saw the way she attacked life. And it's a lesson that I appreciate, that I saw firsthand from a woman so accomplished, yet so humble. And I hope that we can all take that part of her and us in every facet of our lives. Thank you.
Hi there. My name's TJ Fisher. As a friend of Andrew's, I first came to meet Cathie more than 20 years ago while Andrew and I were attending Cal. Although I can't remember the first interaction with Cathie, what struck me about her in those early years was how engaging she was during conversation, despite how ignorant I was, and to a large extent still am. Her approach was always thoughtful, and her wisdom shined through every conversation. She truly had the ability to make you feel like you were the most important room when you were talking to Cathie. As I got to know her story, my appreciation for Cathie's character continued to grow. For me, the term grit perfectly encapsulates Cathie's best qualities. Her success in politics and business, all while being a single mother, is truly an inspiration. As the years progressed, we would talk often on the topic of politics, and I was blessed to be welcomed into her home anytime I had an extended trip to the Bay Area. This one time in particular, about 12 years ago, I was dating my then girlfriend, now wife, and I'd organized a trip to Berkeley. I was dead broke at the time, so I called up Cathie and invited myself to stay over, because at that point I needed all the allies that I could get. Of course, Cathie welcomed both Stacy and I into her home with open arms. She treated us to dinner. And although I may not be able to hold her directly responsible for Stacy's agreeing to marry me, she certainly helped. Cathie touched our lives in profound ways, inspiring us to be better, to strive harder, and to live life with purpose. Though she is no longer with us, her spirit and legacy will continue to live in our hearts and our memories. Let us honor her by carrying forward the lessons she taught us and the love that she shared so freely. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rith Martin. I'm one of Drew's buddies, and Drew's been one of my closest friends for 35 years, something like that. So I'm going to tell two super quick stories that I think Cathie would really appreciate. The first one is around the singing bowls. And so I went over to Drew's house, and we were just leaving the kitchen, going to the dining room. And she said, Rithy, she used to call me Rithy, and now Drew calls me Rithy. It's one of the favorite things that I hear in my life is Drew's voice calling me Rithy. Rithy, you got to see this bowl. And I looked over, and Drew just went like this. And she said, watch this. And she took the mallet, and she hit it, and it went bong. And I looked over at Drew, and he said, that's all it does. And she smiled. And he said, watch this, Rith. I'll save you $3,500. Ah! And she said, hey, Drewy, can I take this and hit you with it? And every time I hit you, you make that song, I'll pay you $3,500. And the two of them just laughed, and Drew hit that point in his laugh where he starts crying. If you don't know Drew well, he's the only person that I know my whole life who cries so hard that he laughs when he cries. He's doing it right now. And to see them in that moment, in this perfect interaction of love and joy and adventure and appreciation of each other, they had a relationship that was just so tight and special and supportive. And, Drew talked a little bit about not growing up with a dad, not growing up with siblings. And it's true. He loves everybody else in his life like they're his siblings. And it's such a special experience to be a part of when you have somebody who loves that hard in their life. It's very, very rare. And that came from Cathie and Drew creating that expectation of how to live life. I'll tell one more story that hopefully doesn't make me cry so hard. We were at Berkeley together, and we were at Cathie's house. And she said, Rithy, you got to tell me about Cal. You boys been studying? And she said it in a way where she probably didn't anticipate the answer was a yes, even though we did great. And I said, well, I got a story about your Drewy. And she said, oh, I'm all ears. And I said, so we were driving back to the dorms, and it was pretty late at night. It wasn't like super late. We were just out having some fun. It wasn't anything crazy. But the parking in Berkeley is really hard. And so we didn't know where to park. Drew already knows where I'm going with this one. And so we're driving around, but he's got a straight plan of where he wants to go. Usually you drive around and look for a parking spot, but Drew knew exactly where he wanted to go. And so we go into this driveway, and Drew gets out of the car, and there's like a kind of like an one-story industrial-looking building. Bruce knows where I'm going to, with a gate. And so, you know, Drew's family, his mom owns a bunch of rental properties in the area. And so Drew gets out and goes to the back of the gate, works the gizmo on the gate, where then he can go and physically move the corrugated metal gate. And he opens it, gets back in the car, we drive in the parking lot, he gets back out, shuts the gate, and hits the switch to turn the parking gate back on. And so we're walking out of the parking lot there, and I was like, Drew, is this like one of you guys' rental properties? And he's like, no. And I was like, what are we doing? And he's like, Rith, this is the perfect crime. This is the Berkeley Alzheimer's Clinic. And so I can park here, and if I get caught, I'll just tell him I forgot about it. And Cathie looks and says, that's my Drewy. And the two of them laugh so hard, Drew hits his peak of cry laughter. So, you know, I'm really, really appreciative for having Drew in my life. It's made huge differences for me. And I know for the people that have shown up here, each of us, I think, has a different ambition in life for how much we can love because of having had you with us. And I know there have been difficult parts. This is one of them in your life. I know Mama didn't raise no quitter. And I know whatever life brings at you, you have this expectation, this ambition, this drive for yourself of what you want. And that in part comes from her. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I appreciate you sharing that with all of us. I love you. Love you, Cathie.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kenny. As you could probably imagine, I'm one of Andrew's friends. Actually, I'm happy to go right after Erithian, because actually Erithian is the person who introduced me to Andrew at like a 7th or 8th grade overnight, and I had no clue what I was getting into. But let's just say it's been one heck of a ride. And I think, as Toby mentioned, Andrew and his mom, Cathie, they're a package deal. They are the best of one another. They are very humbling of each other. In the summer of going into our freshman year of high school, so I want to rewind. If you were a Kensington kid, if you were Portal or Proud, if you sported the Gaucho green, or you could yell, and I hopefully could hear enough people say, "Go Bears!" Right? You were part of her village. I grew up with a single mom, and that's actually was the original conduit that really connected Andrew and I and our moms together. Our moms worked really hard. My mom was a public educator in San Rafael, and as you already know, Cathie was a juggernaut in this community, whether it was through the role that she had as the El Cerrito mayor, or she worked in education, or in real estate. Her presence was felt and touched in every which way here in this community. And so now, as we're in our 40s, starting to become parents and family persons of our own, as a father, I can truly say, looking at Andrew just as a reminder, right? You are the hopes and dreams of your mother, right? She did all of it for you, right? I was a benefactor getting to hang out. I'm not sure. I didn't see. I sat right in front of Barb and Bob Bacon. There were some of the folks who originally introduced, and I think part of what I'm trying to share here is strong single moms have their village, as already previously mentioned. They took me to my first 49er football game, right? I was a huge 49er fan and had never gone to a game before, and to know that I was going to a Cal game or a 49er football game with Andrew, with Cathie, or with the Bacons, it meant everything to me. I got to be along for that ride and be a part of your life as well. So I've called Andrew my brother for more than 30 years, and obviously it'll be until the day that we're done. But your mother loved you, right? She loved all of us. So many of us who are here today are improved, are better, right, are richer because of her. And so I thank Cathie for bringing us together. Cathie loved so hard that she put you to work. right? There's brickwork out in the front of that house that I could proudly, I showed my sons the other day, like, hey, I did this over here, you know? But I want to just finish by saying one of my favorite memories most recently before her passing was driving my sons up to the steam trains and passing by and seeing her walking her dogs in the garden, you know, pulling down the window, giving the quick hello. She is truly like the East Bay microclimates, like you get every form and facet of her, and that's something that I'll always hold true. So thank you for everyone for being here. We all love Cathie very much, so thank you.
The last time that Cathie was physically in this space couldn't have been much more than a month before she died. She was watching the Sunday morning service online and saw that Louise Fender was here, someone dear to her who grew up in this church and whose father had recently died. So Cathie got up and got over to the church so she could hug Louise and so she could join us for communion that day. Now, we're not sharing the ritual of communion today, but we are sharing a meal, which is communion, perhaps in an even truer sense. And as we do, the spirit of Cathie will be with us. And I believe the spirit of Christ as well. Cathie loved deeply and lived fully. And she believed in a God who was with her even as she endured multiple times throughout her life, long walks through the valley of the shadow of death. Even in the darkness of that valley, she found reasons to celebrate. She found joy in friendship and faith. She believed in the power of prayer, especially the prayers of the Dominican sisters, and also of her church. She was so proud of her son, Andrew, and so grateful for him and for the friends who cared for her in her final days. She found grace in it all. As we continue to remember and celebrate Cathie's life, may we keep our eyes peeled for grace and find joy on the journey, no matter where it leads. I invite you to join me in prayer. Loving God, we thank you again for Cathie's beautiful life, for all she was and is to each person here, for her laughter and her fire, her fierceness and her warmth, her light that live on in each of us who have known her. We ask for your comfort today, your presence and help in our moments of grief. Help us to love each other well, even in the darkness of grief. And help us to see grace in it all. Amen. I invite you to stand again as we sing our closing hymn. You may be seated. Thank you again for being here today. I want to remind you that everyone is invited to the social hall right through those back doors for a reception following the service. May the grace of God surround you, the peace of God fill you, and the love of God sustain you now and forevermore. Amen.